When it came to finding my own voice, honestly, that's something that I'm still learning today. It took me most of my career to realize what my superpowers are and how I can use them and not to shy away from that.
Hi everyone, welcome to Identity Unveiled. We are a lifestyle platform that discusses career, beauty, and health. Our platform supports the advancement of Asian American women to the executive ranks. Today we have a special guest, Michelle Wong. Michelle is the Chief Marketing Officer of Sprinkles. And joining us, she's not only going to talk about Sprinkles, but also Picnik Restaurant. Sprinkles is known as the world's first cupcake bakery. Across the US, there are 23 bakeries and 50 iconic pink cupcake ATMs. In the next 3 years, there are plans to have more than 100 US franchise locations and 100 international locations. The first international franchise location is set to open in Asia this year. So if you're looking for something healthier, grab a meal at Picnik, which is recognized as one of the top emerging brands in the US, serving up healthy comfort food. In 2021, Michelle joined Sprinkles and Picnik team as a CMO. She leads all consumer and product marketing, drives product innovation and flavor development. She is the diversity and inclusion advocate and uses her leadership position to create opportunities for women, BIPOC, LGBT professionals. Welcome, Michelle.
Thanks, Diane. Thanks for having me. That was a lovely intro. You made me sound really special.
Well, you are, Michelle, and we're really excited to have you. Now, Sprinkles and Picnik wasn't your first step into the culinary industry. So tell us a little bit about your own story, your upbringing, and really those formative events that brought you to the person that you are today and the career that you've built for yourself.
Wow. Well, I have had a very varied background, and my family upbringing, I think you could consider to be somewhat untraditional. I grew up on mainly with my mother's side. My grandmother was an actress in Hong Kong. When she immigrated to the US, she built an enduring career in Hollywood and was a wonderful comedic and dramatic actress. My aunt is a dancer and she's a choreographer. She was the first Asian LA Laker girl, the first Asian Rams cheerleader. My mother was a very, very vocal political activist when she was in college. And I just grew up with really strong female figures. And I didn't have sort of what a lot of, I think a lot of Asian stories will tend to tell about being like the pressure to have like a tiger mom that's like, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer. We were just kind of artsy, and we really were all about following what made you happy and pursuing the things that fulfilled you as a person. So I feel very fortunate that I had that freedom. So it's kind of odd that I ended up in a corporate position when I started off really more on the creative and artistic side, but that creativity has been a thread throughout my life. I studied at the University of UC Irvine, and I then went on to study at Le Cordon Bleu in London. And I graduated with a grand diplôme in French cuisine and patisserie. I worked as a pastry chef for about a year because I couldn't take it anymore. It's a very hard job. I was like, I think I need to do something where I get to sit down once in a while. So that creativity streak was still very much in me. I was fortunate enough to get an internship at an advertising agency in Chicago. And that's where I started my ad career. I absolutely fell in love with this business. To be able to contribute in that way, to feel like my voice was being heard. A lot of the creative process is very similar to being in the kitchen. I love the idea of having an idea and a concept, actually creating it and making something and putting it out into the world for someone to enjoy. Nothing to me is more gratifying than when someone says that they liked something I made them, or they thought the ad that we put out was clever, anything like that. It's just has always felt really good. And so that was sort of my journey. As I graduated in my career, I was part of a managing partner team that bought our agency back from our holding company in Los Angeles. There were 5 of us, and we ran that agency as an independent for 4 years. At the end of those 4 years, we merged and sold, and I decided I wasn't gonna stay. I thought it was time for me to try something new and step out on my own. And that year was 2020. And so my fantasies of this being the best year ever and me doing all these things was a real shock, as it was to everyone. I mean, everyone really had a tough time in 2020, but it really forced me to recenter and regroup on what I wanted to do. I was in a very fortunate position where I could be choiceful about my next move. I had been in a position where I could create change and make choices and lead, and I wanted to continue doing that. I worked as a consultant for a year. I started as a project at Sprinkles, and after a few weeks, I sat down with my CEO, and he was like, I think you should stay. And it really became this pinnacle of everything that I love to do in my life. I still love to cook and bake. I'm such a foodie. My hobby is going out to eat at restaurants. Like, that's what I love to do. And advertising and marketing I've built a 20-year career in that. So to be able to merge those things has really been a dream come true for me.
How difficult is it for you, or how has that been for you to make it to the top as an API woman?
It was really hard. It was really hard. I've been reflecting on my journey lately, just having multiple conversations with, really incredible women that are doing the same thing or on that path in their own careers. And when I think back to, being a junior in advertising, trying to get into management, trying to get into the executive positions, the things that I faced were really challenging, being in quite a male dominated field, and it still very much is. When you layer on top of that the stereotypes that Asians and Asian women in particular carry and feel in the day-to-day work life, I mean, it was a lot. I mean, it's not just me showing up to work and working harder than everyone else, because that's what I thought that needed to be done to get through. It wasn't enough. I had to really convince people to change their minds on what they perceived me to be or what I could become. And if I couldn't, I needed to find another way to get around it and to move on, because I think we're often seen as hard workers, and we're quiet, and we're just going to do the work and not say anything. And so much about growing up in your career and being successful is having a voice, is doing some of your own internal PR, is standing up for yourself, having presence. And those are skills that I had to really learn and adapt on my own without having really anyone that looked like me to look towards for support.
How did you go about learning that on your own? How did you go about building your confidence, really having your voice at the table? Many people struggle with that. Many women, many Asian women have talked about, having that voice. How did you find it?
I was very fortunate that I had mentors, I had sponsors, I had allies. And when I talk to young women and Asian women, especially, it's about finding people who are going to support you and create that space for you in the room. Because I might have been invited to the meeting and being able to sit at the table, but many times I wasn't even looked to or considered to participate, or that my voice had value. And I think when you have an ally in the room that's able to say, actually, what Michelle said, that was really great. I don't think the whole room heard it. Can you repeat yourself? Having that kind of support system and someone that's co-signing you goes a really long way. When it came to finding my own voice, honestly, that's something that I'm still learning today. It took me most of my career to realize what my superpowers are and how I can use them, and not to shy away from that. And it's a journey, because a lot of that is not feeling safe to do it. But then when you're in a position where, okay, I'm leader of this, I'm in charge of this, or I'm running this thing, and people are looking to you, not to shy away from that, and to trust your instincts, and to trust that what you're doing, it can be hard. And I think about it every day, because I will walk in a room and sometimes I'll second guess myself, but I have to step out of myself and be like, no, Michelle, you know what you're doing. You've been doing this for a long time. You can say what you need to say, and it's not going to hurt anyone's feelings.
When you have that moment of paralyzing fear, what's going through your mind? I mean, I can imagine what goes through your day as an executive, but what is that though?
Sometimes I feel like maybe what I'm saying is wrong, or that there are other experts in the room, and that I should lean back a little bit. And I think what I've learned is that not everything I say is right. Not everything I say and want to do is going to be great. But But by not putting myself out there, by not participating and having a voice, it's actually detrimental for the entire team, because whether or not it's the right thing to do, it's another perspective that adds value, because I'm bringing a POV that actually no one else is, because you haven't lived my life and you're not an Asian woman and you haven't done this or whatever. And I've seen it happen where I don't say something and I'm kicking myself, and I think living life that way too is a big thing for me. It's just like, just go for it, just do it.
What makes you cross that threshold? Essentially, I think what I want to know, and as well as our users, is what do you value in yourself as a leader? What is that, as I heard, superpower that you have?
I have a very different style. And I learned that when I was in advertising. If we were in pitches or we're in big meetings, my soft skills are different. And I think that when I realized that when I can come into a room and I know I can change the energy of the room, I know that I can shift things where I want them to go because of the way that I'm presenting the information or because of the conversations that we're having. Not to be afraid of that, because it's actually, when you think about what you're good at, and if you tap into that as individuals, it's really powerful. And I think that can be scary. For me, it's a little bit scary. It's like, whoa, this is like working. It's like this magic. And when you realize that's inside of you, and you see how that can actually provide a result in the work that you're doing. For me, it was just, when I could see that happen, it was just reinforcing that, yes, Michelle, like what you're bringing to the table is worthy, and it's just not to shy away from that. I think we're often not told to be that, right? We're not told to be the one to put ourselves forward or toot our own horns or whatever it is. So it's a constant practice for me still.
And I think that's a great transition into, we're not often told, there's an expectation around how we should be. And there's a lot of work actually that you are, I know, very passionate about DE&I. I think now it's called DE&IB. They keep adding more and more, but very important work and so needed in today's society. And I love that Sprinkles actually has quite a strong platform around inclusivity. And I know that is very close to your heart. So how do you use, how are you actively involved? How do you use your leadership and your platform to create opportunities for women, BIPOC, and the LGBTQ community?
I think at the core of it all is having, those are, like you described, my core values. And for me, that was one of the biggest reasons why I joined Sprinkles, is because we share those values. Like, I didn't have to come in and say, we need to do all these things. They were already doing it. I think what I've brought to the table is an amplification of that. And again, a different perspective, given my background. So for me, it hasn't been a challenge in the sense that I don't have to sell this into anybody. I'm very fortunate that the people that I work with, the people that live and breathe this brand with me every day, believe in the same things, but what we've done is, from the external side, are the nonprofits that we're partnering with. One of our deepest relationships is actually the Center for Healing Racism, based in Houston. And we work with them every year. We make donations, but we also really connect with the community in their activations and events that they have going on. And they provide to us, for Sprinkles team members, resources and tools and how to be better or learn or educate yourselves on any sort of matter that's going on. And I think being able to show our workforce that not only is this something that we care about for the external, but that this is something that we want for ourselves. I've seen that impact. I've seen how it just fills our associates with so much pride that they're working for a company that really cares, because, that's what our workforce looks like. We're a diverse group of people. 70% over 70% of Sprinkles general managers are women. We're in the hospitality industry. This is quite the anomaly. This does not happen. And so if we didn't live and breathe those values, it wouldn't service the people that are building our business every day.
We are here to really support more women that look like you, and you've paved the way for that. We actually have a partner named Elliott Group, and up to 60% of their placements are actually women executives in the hospitality industry. And so I want to dive into what are some biases, unique biases that API women face that you guys are trying to fight.
Well, I think I can't speak on the full AAPI experience, right? I think for me and for a lot of people, it's been about visibility. I think that is something that I had battled throughout my career. It's just not being seen I'm seen as a doer, but not as a leader. You're seen as being a hard worker, but you're not seen as someone that's worthy of promotion. And now at this stage in my career, visibility is key to everything. I think people have to feel seen, and we really put a focus on putting a spotlight on women or anyone that could use the extra bit of shine. Like, we're just underrepresented, and whoever is in that underrepresented group, how can we be a part of bringing them to the light? And so we've done that in a number of ways in terms of partnering with our LGBTQ plus nonprofit partners, to the collaborations that we have with chefs of various cultural backgrounds, to the flavors that we've developed. And for me, it's very easy to say, oh, we're ticking these boxes, or why are you doing all these things? I get asked that all the time. Why are you celebrating everything and everyone? But for me, it all comes back to the storytelling and authenticity and the connection to food. Food is such a central part of any culture, and the memories and attachments that we have to those ingredients, scents, smells, flavors is so strong and so deep. And if we can capture that with a Sprinkles cupcake and tell a story about where this inspiration came from, it means something. It becomes more than just a bite of a cupcake. It means that you might have felt seen a little bit, or you might have experienced something new that you'd never had before. And so those are the opportunities that I think diversity brings to a business, but to Sprinkles in particular.
Well, now I'm curious, what cupcake do you think tells your story? What flavor?
Oh, my personal story?
Like, when you bite into it, you're like, this is me.
Well, it's so funny because we, everyone on the executive team, they all have restaurant backgrounds. We're all big foodies. We talk about food and nerd out about stuff all the time. It's so much fun. And we all have our babies that we've concepted and our favorites. But my first Sprinkles cupcake that I concepted with the team was our matcha and yuzu cupcake. And it's beautiful, it's delicious, and it just has such a place in my heart that I've had so many favorites over the last couple of years, but that one is really special to me.
I'm gonna have to dive in. Which part is the matcha? Which part is the yuzu?
Okay, so it's a matcha cake. So it's this beautiful matcha cake, this beautiful green, natural, gorgeous, and it's filled with a very light marshmallow cream. But the frosting is a yuzu buttercream frosting. So you get the balance of like the citrus and a little bitterness from the tea, but the sweetness of the cream in the center. And it just is my favorite thing. And it makes me so happy every time we run that flavor.
How has your Asian culture influenced the way that you lead?
I think my background has, again, it's been centered around food. Like, everything we did was around Sunday dinner at my grandparents' house, or going out to dinner in San Gabriel Valley around in the Chinese restaurant with the giant Lazy Susan. We all pick something and we're talking, and it's about community, and it's about coming together. I think that feeling I love. It's why I fell in love with advertising. It's why when I sit in a room and we're brainstorming, it feels like I'm part of something, and it kind of conjures up those same feelings. The way that I lead is very much like that as well. I like to have people around me. I like to bounce around ideas. I love to goof off and then come back to what it is that we're talking about, because all of those discussions and feelings and things that are thrown around in the room lead you to a better place. And I think when you have community, when you have camaraderie, you have trust and safety all at the same time, that's when people can be themselves. They can bring their best work to the table. And that's the kind of environment that I love to foster.
One of the things that we're doing here at IU is really building a community around women who are breaking barriers like you, specifically AAPI women that are breaking barriers like you. When you think about community of AAPI women, what does it mean to you?
I think our community is growing and it is evolved. And what I mean by that, it sounds very nebulous, but when I started, I didn't know anyone that was Asian in advertising. I didn't know anyone. And then when I went to different places, there might be one person here, one person there, and we would find each other. And then we're all trying to do the same thing. And there is this, it's very easy to fall into a scarcity mentality, right? There's only one woman that could make it. There's only one Asian person that's going to get the title. And that has changed a lot, because I think over the last, 5, maybe 10 years, we've seen our community come together and realize that a win for you is a win for me. And if we're at the table, guess what? We're bringing everybody with us too. And we're opening the doors to opportunity for lots of underrepresented people. The numbers don't lie. Our presence isn't in the C-suite. Our presence isn't in the leadership roles and creativity, and we're not looked at as creative leaders. So I feel that now there is a really strong sense of community. I feel that I'm part of it. And we're all trying to help each other, because we know at the end, not even the end, like in that process, we're all going to win coming from that.
Hearing you speak, it moves me to tears, and it brings me joy at the same time, because to hear that our community is stepping up and coming together. The question is, for someone that has trailblazed a path, what is your next step in life?
I have no idea. And for the first time in my life, I'm okay with that. And I feel like, because I worked in a kitchen, I never thought that I was going to work in advertising. And then I never thought that I would be a contractor and a consultant and working freelance, going from gig to gig. And I had this dream of being able to have this role where I could, be in food, but be in advertising and marketing. And now I'm here. Every step for me has been a surprise. And again, with time comes some wisdom. And I think now I'm at the point where I feel like the next surprise is around the corner, and I don't know what it is. And I'm okay with that. Before it would scare me, but now I'm like, no, let's see, like, who knows where this is going to go.
Well, Michelle, we are so glad you are here and you're where you're at. You are truly an inspiration for other AAPI women who are in the C-suite, in the executive suite, and those that are trailing that path. So thank you so much for being with us here today on IU.
Thank you for having me. This was so lovely.
Well, if you all have not checked out the sprinkles near you, make sure you do. Let us know what your favorite flavor is. Well, if you find yourself in Houston and Austin, make sure to check out a healthy comfort food picnic as well. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being with us today.
Thank you.